Welcome again to the Clarity Challenge. If you are still struggling with being single, this is still for you. We've talked about the first challenge that you're going to be faced with as a single. Today we're going to look at the second challenge you will be faced with, you contend with, you'll fight with as a single. So today we're looking at outside pressure. There is a sense in which the first struggle was more like inside pressure. Loneliness is a state of the mind, and it's generated oftentimes from within. But then there is the pressure from without, outside pressure, and we've all seen this. You go to certain places and the looks of pity, especially when your friends, your classmates, your colleagues who are coupled find you and they find out that you're still single. They get to introduce themselves and they're like, hey, how are you? Are you married? And you're like, no. Sometimes you don't even know exactly how to answer that you're not yet married. And so there is a sense in which you come under pressure. Sometimes they do it intentionally. Sometimes it's just a normal question. If I'm married and I find my classmates, it's okay to find out if you're married. If you're also married, it's okay to find out if you've had children, especially if I've had one or two. And so for people who are married, who are yet to have children, that kind of pressure comes on them. But you see, pressure has advantages and it has disadvantages. But for me, pressure is always a good thing. Pressure has a way of exposing who you are, what you are, and what stuff you are made of. When tanks are going to be used, the pressure test them to define their capacity for handling the complexities, the pressure, the weight, the weight, the pressure, the push, the pull of chemicals, of air, of gases, whatever. Those kind of tests are critical. So when you come under this kind of pressure, your reaction, as a matter of fact, reveals the stuff you are made of. And so allow pressure to expose you to you so that it sends you back on assignment to know what level and kind of personal development efforts that you still need to put in to make you a better person. Sometimes it's not even just about classmates and colleagues. Sometimes it is your family's expectation. Oftentimes your family begins to expect and demand a wedding. They begin to expect and demand grandkids. And oftentimes this is enough to make you go crazy. When you find yourself in situations like this, come down to it. You find out, listen, it's your life. It is your life. What you do, when you do it, how you do it, is really not anybody's business. Listen, they are free to have their opinions. They are free to think what they want to think. It's their opinion. Everyone has an opinion. But then, just because they have an opinion about your marital or dating status, doesn't mean you should allow it influence how you feel about you. Listen, when you let people's opinion influence how you feel about yourself, it's a sign that there is something fundamentally wrong with how you feel about yourself. But listen, if you are able to clearly define how you choose to feel part-time, there is a sense in which it will place a limit on how what people say and do affects you. This is profound. I lost my spouse exactly 5 years ago. Many people who lost their spouses before me are already remarried. Many people who lost their spouses after me already remarried. Some people got remarried after 7 months, some after 1 year, very few after 2 years. You rarely find anybody who waits for 3 years. I've done 5 years. People have their opinions. I have friends, I have well-wishers, I have colleagues who ask from time to time. Some don't ask. The ones that don't ask don't want to sound embarrassing. The ones that ask before because they care. Oftentimes, for the ones that ask, I appreciate them. Some of them want to talk and they are being careful. I'm like, feel free, talk to me. Say what you have to say. You never know what motivation you might be given to me, but just be yourself. And quite sincerely, for those who engage me in discussions about that, I engage them in discussions freely. Some want to make recommendations. Some feel I should go out, do life with XYZ person or the other. It's okay. For me, it's their opinion. I only give them reasons why I do not think that that person is okay for me. I only give them reasons why I may not be ready right now. I only give them reasons why certain things must be in their proper places before I consider this. For most of them, I have not told them the exact reason why I'm not in a hurry to deal with that, because they also cannot understand certain things because of how spiritual and how personal they are. So I'm not able to communicate. As a matter of fact, in the earliest times, one or two persons, precisely two persons I shared that with, misunderstood, misinterpreted, misconstrued my motive, my intention, and what it is that I shared with them. And they were more on the path of forget about that and do this or do that. And so what I've done over time is to not share the main reason with people. Most of the reasons I give to people are surface reasons. Why? It's my life. The things they say are beneficial. I put those things in their proper perspective as I make decisions in life. But at the end of the day, it's my life. The final decision is with me. How I do life is for me, by me, to me, through me, and for those that it concerns, especially my kids and then family. And so to a large extent, I do not let that put me under any kind of pressure. As a matter of fact, I do not think that I am under any kind of pressure. I believe that being single, in my case, you may not want to categorize me as single. You may want to say being widowed, whatever. Being alone at any point in time is the best time to look inward. Go inward and really work on the parts of yourself that you would like to improve. I'm still working on myself. I'm still improving myself. I'm still investing into areas that I feel and believe are critical, that I should put those places where they ought to be before moving into another relationship. As a matter of fact, when she passed on, barely 7 months after, I developed a blueprint, a roadmap that will lead me to getting remarried. In that roadmap, there were specifics that I have outlined, things that must be where they ought to be, when they ought to be, and how they ought to be. And I'm following that blueprint religiously, dedicatedly, and committedly. It is the reason why I'm not under pressure, because I'm working on a blueprint. You will say, I have the advantage of being the man, you are the woman. It is until men approach you that something can happen. I agree with that. But the choice to be under pressure is ours. If we accept to be under unnecessary pressure, it's our choice. You may not be able to avoid situations that attempt to put you under pressure. But whether you accept to be under the pressure or not is ultimately yours to decide. And that's the point I'm making. By the time you look inward and work on yourself, those parts that needs to be improved, by the time your next relationship comes around, you realize that you are the best version of yourself that you can be. At the end of the day, it is your level of preparedness that defines your capacity to maximize opportunities. And like I always tell people, there is no one particular person, partner, soulmate designed and defined for you. At every point in time, your level of preparedness will define who is suitable to you. If somebody has invested so much in themselves and they deserve an 8 of 10, and you are still a 3 of 10, a 4 of 10, or a 5 of 10, life is only just to make sure it gives that person who has developed themselves as an 8 of 10, give them someone who is a 7 of 10, 8 of 10, or 9 of 10. Whereas life should give you someone, if you are a 3 of 10, life should give you someone who is a 2 of 10, a 3 of 10, or a 4 of 10. At every point in time, it is your level of preparedness that defines who is suitable, who best fits you part time. So who best fits you part time is seasonal, and it is to a large extent conditioned by your level of investment in yourself. I would therefore suggest that you take this moment to look inward and develop yourself and be intentional not to let yourself come under any pressure that is not necessary. You should always have answers ready for whoever asks you questions. When you are ready like that, nothing takes you aback or puts you off balance. If even when you think you are not ready, you didn't see certain questions coming, you don't have to answer every question. Some of the times, you just tell people, I don't have anything to say. I'll think about it. I'll look into it. You don't have to respond to people, in as much as you don't want to be disrespectful. For me, this is so profound. And so on the platform in class, we asked the question, what was the last time family, friends, and other married folks got really, really on your nerves and did crazy stuff or had crazy thoughts, especially in respect to your still being single? We asked, what did you do? What did you think? And how did you handle it? We had all kinds of responses from participants in class. In fact, there was a case in which the friends intentionally ganged up just to mock their classmate because he was not yet married among the clique. As a matter of fact, they literally left their child for him to take home because he is not yet married, not to talk of having a child of his. And that put him really under pressure. For me, you can't put me under pressure. I won't let you do that. Part time, I'm confident about where I am, what I'm doing. I'm excited. I'm happy. I choose to be joyful. I should choose to be excited. I intentionally choose my emotions and my feelings part time because I've come to realize that to a large extent, how much we accomplish in life and how much we are able to put into life and take from life is largely defined by our emotions. Whether those emotions are positive, whether those emotions are negative, will to a large extent define what we get out of life. I want to believe that the things I've shared so far has been beneficial to you, and they sure are going to add value to you. Thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast, and God bless.